Since the beginning of time, humanity has been fascinated with where we came from and how did we get here. So I suppose that it comes as no surprise that the early Jewish temple fathers shared the same desire as us to ask the question of where did we come from? Where did we come from? You see, it isn't just about simple curiosity of how it all began and how history unfolded to where we find ourselves in the here and now. For when we trace back to our origins, to our early beginnings, it is also an attempt to understand where we can ask other questions too, like, what is the purpose of our lives? Why are we here? Questions of origin can begin to shed light on some of our struggles. Where does pain and suffering come from? What is its purpose? Why is it that we have good and evil, and even helps us maybe answer the question of what will happen to us when we die? All of these questions come into play when we ask questions about where do we come from. And so thousands of years ago, our early Jewish fathers, inspired by God, began to tell the creation narrative as we have it this morning. And for thousands of years, along with others, this became a narrative told to answer a number of questions. It wasn't until fairly recently, maybe the last 200 years or thereabouts, that people learned about things called science, and that there was an accumulating scientific knowledge that was developing in our world and in our understanding. And as that developed, there was the sense that then looked critically at the creation narrative and declared that it was wrong, that it was inconsistent with the science. I went to go and Google to see some of the answers or some of the questions that science puts forward towards the creation narrative. And I landed on a website that you may know. It's called Quora. And it's a website that allows other people to answer questions. But it also has a generated answer, an AI answer, where it tells you that this answer is generated by a bot. This is what the bot has told me. Creationism, the belief that the universe and living organisms originate from specific acts of divine creation, is a viewpoint that is not supported by the scientific community due to lack of empirical evidence and inconsistency in the vast body of scientific knowledge. Here are some of the best arguments against creationism. Number one, the lack of scientific evidence. Creationism is based on religious texts and beliefs rather than empirical evidence. Science relies on observable evidence, testable hypotheses, and repeatable experiments to understand the natural world. Creationism does not provide testable predictions or empirical evidence to support its claims. It went on to say that it was inconsistencies with scientific knowledge. The theory of evolution, supported by overwhelming evidence from various scientific disciplines such as biology, geology, genetics, explains the diversity of life on Earth through natural processes over billions of years. Creationism, on the other hand, often conflicts with established scientific knowledge and does not account for the vast amount of evidence supporting evolution. The other points were religious bias, saying that it was just simply influenced by religion, and irreducible complexity. One of the arguments brought forth by proponents of creationism is the concept of irreducible complexity, which suggests that certain biological systems are too complex to have evolved through natural selection. However, many examples of supposedly irreducibly complex systems have been shown to have simpler precursors that could have evolved through gradual steps. Yes, I'm lost. Perhaps you are too. Scientific America said this: when Charles Darwin introduced the theory of evolution through natural selection 158 years ago, the scientists of the day argued over it fiercely. But the massing evidence from paleontology, genetics, zoology, molecular biology, and other fields gradually established evolution's truth beyond a reasonable doubt. Beyond a reasonable doubt. So the question that is posed to you and I is, do we simply believe in a fanciful story? Is our faith not based on concrete things? The problem that exists between these two lines of thought, creation and the story of creation, and what science asks or declares as being the truth of how we got here, scientists are asking, how did it happen? The processes and mechanics of how. The biblical story and its authors didn't even know what science was when that story came into being.